And good evening. My name is Francisco Núñez. I'm the founder and artistic director of the Young People's Chorus of New York City. And I'm so pleased to be presenting this concert in collaboration with the Yale choral artist called The Glass Box, where we are experimenting in the idea of looking at, can music change the world? This year, YPC is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and we are very excited in the midst of these celebrations to have two amazing composers that have written pieces for us for this evening's concert. And I'm going to introduce those people to you, and then we're going to talk to them a little bit about what's going on and do they believe that music has an impact on all of us. Paola Prestini, to my left, is is a visionary composer and impresario, as well as the co-founder and artistic director of one of today's busiest and most influential and successful music venues, which is called National Sawdust. NPR has listed, NPR has listed her as one of the top 100 composers in the world, and The Glass Box is YPC's second commission from Paola. And she worked in collaboration with Royce Favric. To her left is a Pulitzer Prize-winning librettist and lyricist, well known for his diverse collaborations with many composers from around the world, such as imaginative composers like David Little, Messi Mazzoli, and Nico Muhly. He is also the co-artistic director with the Tony-nominated soprano Lauren Washam to the Coterie and Opera Theater Company. Welcome, Royce. This year, we had an amazing opportunity to work with a 6-time Grammy Award-winning Latin jazz composer, pianist, and educator, as well as the founder of the Afro-Latin Jazz Alliance, Mr. Arturo O'Farrell. And this is his first commission for the YPC. And finally, I want to introduce you to an incredible friend and an amazing musician, Jeffrey Douma, who is the conductor of the Yale Choral Artist. He's been the director of the acclaimed Yale Glee Club since 2003, as well as professor of conducting at the Yale School of Music and artistic director of the Yale International Choral Festival, where we were just this past weekend. He appears as guest conductors all over the world, and he writes a lot of music as well. So this is our panel. Please welcome everybody on here. So in recent years, I've been noticing a change in children's ideas of what they can do. We all know that they have a lot of potential. But recently, I would say in the past 5 to 7 years, they've been trying more and more to, I would guess, have their voices heard in our society. A few years back, a young lady was very upset because she kept writing blogs on Facebook, and she wanted to create a movement, and no one was listening to her. Yet other, more negative movements were getting a lot of attention around the world. And she was just heartbroken that her words were not being heard. And I said to her, but we just sang for the Pope at the 9/11 Museum and many, many world leaders, and it was seen by 1 billion people, and you sang a song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. And she noticed there that music does have an impact at what she can do. So I want to start with Paola and say, we've been working together for a few pieces now, one incredible piece, Epiphany, and of course this one, The Glass Box. Why would you choose the kind of music that you choose to be sung by young people, and do you think it affects them in any particular way?
I think it's a great question. My very first job when I graduated Juilliard was teaching kids all over the city. And I think that understanding my work through the lens of children and also understanding their perspective on the music has been a huge growth for me. I think often we don't want to push kids to tackle issues that in fact they're grappling with every day of their life. And that in fact if we open that conversation in a much deeper way, it becomes a much more positive dialogue that we have. And so in the works that we've done together, Epiphany, when we first started talking, I wanted to, in fact, grapple the issue of how do children understand death and afterlife. And in this piece, it really became the question of understanding borders and rights. And so the theme, became this idea of the glass box, which is inspired by a short story in the New Yorker, where it really examines these young children in Sweden who are told that they are going to be deported. And what happens is that they actually react to it by falling into a coma. And this coma, the one image that stuck to me was that this young boy said, "I felt as if I was in a glass box at the bottom of the ocean, and if I would breathe, it would come down crashing on me." And that image stuck in my head so much that I immediately, when you asked me to write, I called Royce, and then eventually with Kevork, we decided to examine really how the children would feel, and unfortunately this is a very, very timely issue, even more so than when we started.
And Royce, you wrote the libretto, knowing it's going to be sung by young people and a professional chorus, so we have both groups singing the glass box. What do you think we should be listening to with your words?
Well, I think it's really cool to have these two choirs because with the way that we imagined it, the kids play the kids in this scenario and the adults play the parental role. And so I think that there's something, it makes sense. We're using the adults to play the adults and the kids to play the kids. And I think that it's important, I think that music, going back to your original question, I think that arts, music inspires empathy. And so I remember Penelope Cruz winning her Oscar, probably a decade ago, for Vicky Cristina Barcelona, said that she used to watch the Oscars in Spain and how cinema was the common denominator. It's just spoke across boundaries. And I think that music is even more so the common denominator. Everybody can lend their voice. Even if you aren't given the access to the other art forms, I think that music is such a primal, elemental thing in our lives. And so I think that it's something that really makes us realize, or I hope that it makes us realize, that we're all, there's that great Maya Angelou quote, right? We are all more alike than we are unalike. And music really is that. I think that it really, that there's no greater evidence than that in music.
Did you have any fear in using words or not using words because it was being sung by young people?
I wanted to be as honest as possible in this particular piece, so I don't think that I certainly didn't use words that were uber provocative, but I don't think that this piece necessarily warranted that. So when we identified the theme and the concept, I let the words just sort of fill in the container that we were imagining.
There's one lyric that I'll just share, which I think is not, that provocative isn't the right word, but it really gets into the feeling of what it would feel like to make this ultimate sacrifice of sleep. And the kids sing about their bodies liquefying and what it would internally feel to make the sacrifice of sleep in order to keep a family together, which is pretty powerful.
That's amazing. And tonight we're also going to hear the premiere of Borderless by Arturo O'Farrell. And you're also tackling a similar issue on the idea of citizenship and community around the world. Can you tell us about your piece called Borderless?
Yeah, I can. But I want to quote the great poet-philosopher Fred Rogers, known as Mr. Rogers, who said, "Won't you be my neighbor?" And I think, if I can be so bold, I don't think kids understand borders. I don't think they understand boundaries. And I grew up as a Mexican child in a dominantly American culture, and in fact was the prototype for a DACA kid because my mother and father didn't take care of my status for years. But I didn't understand that I was different. It's only over many years that I began to feel a little bit of alienation and why I wasn't playing with that group of kids or with those musicians or going in this circle. And I think that's something that Mr. Rogers dealt with a lot, that we can't hide things from children. We have to be clear with them and even help them to understand the pain that they're going through. And I think projects like this and works like this and moments like this in history are among the most frightening moments that children have probably ever faced. And so helping them with art, with music, with words, spoken words, unspoken words, with monosyllabic sounds is probably the best thing, the best medicine we could give them.
And within your music, tell us a little bit about your words, your lyrics, because you're also using a different language in yours as well.
Well, I had the privilege of working with Lisa Muir, who is a text genius, who kind of dissected the basics. We talk a lot about how physiology is what unites humanity, and that's true. We all have spleens, at least I think we do. But also the way that our mouths are constructed, the basic componentry of all culture and language comes from all these sounds that our mouths make, and somehow this shows me that what happens is that culture even predominates physiology, and that the things that develop into language and into dance and into expressions of your community are more important than anything that we can possibly have.
So those words, they don't, those sounds that we're making, is it a language or is it just a made-up sound? What are we listening to?
Exactly.
Okay. They do say music is universal and so is language. Working with Meredith Monk, she says her music is very universal because no matter where you go, it is understood by everyone. I'm going to go here to Jeffrey now. And Jeffrey, you had this amazing symposium, international festival that you had this past week. And you invited YPC to sing, and we actually premiered Paolo's piece, and we're going to have the New York premiere here, Paolo and Royce's piece, I should say. Why are you looking into putting an international festival together, and how does young people fit into that logic?
Yeah, and we were thrilled to have your group there and to be able to perform Paola's piece just on Saturday afternoon. The festival is something we've done a couple of times before. This was our third. And the original idea was basically just to bring choirs from different places around the world together for a week to sing for each other and to sing with each other. And that certainly seemed relevant when we started a few years ago, but it felt even more urgent, I would say, planning it this time around. And we originally invited the Tehran Vocal Ensemble from Iran. And we knew that we may not be successful in obtaining visas for them, and we were not. Although we did live stream them in, actually, to a lecture, and they performed some songs for the people there, including the theme song from the TV show Friends, which is what they ended with, and it was a beautiful moment. In the end, the choirs that attended were a German choir, Ensemble Cantissimo, a wonderful university choir from Mexico City called Staccato, the Muslim choral ensemble from Sri Lanka, and Francisco's choir, the Young People's Chorus. And I guess I would say, the reason is similar to something that I said before our final concert, which is where all the choirs perform together. I think that it's important for us as musicians not to be delusional and to believe that we can solve the world's most intractable problems with a music festival or with a concert or with a performance. But that doesn't mean that those things don't have value, and in fact, really critical value, because on one level, just like our bodies need food, and we also need food for the soul if we're going to survive. If we're only bombarded with negativity day after day after day, we're not going to survive. So we need something, we need some form of light to sustain us. So that's important in and of itself. But I also think, and this is kind of what Royce was getting at too, when he's talking about music and singing and this connection. I often, my students in the Glee Club who are just a little bit older than the YPC kids, just by 2 or 3 years older, we talk about, why are we tuning a chord? Why does this matter? We get this rhythm together, we get this consonant together. Why does that matter? In the end, it's about connecting people. It's about making connections with other people. That's why the arts matter. And I do think that's what the arts does better than really anything else. And my bias is that music does it better than many of the other art forms, and that within music, singing does it better. It does build understanding. I think we experienced that this week at Yale. It does break down barriers, and when you understand people better, you treat them with more kindness, because they're no longer the other. They're just a reflection of you. And then I think you make better decisions. And hopefully we send young people out into the world to become senators and congressmen and whatever they're going to do, and they make better decisions because they sang in a choir.
And I think they do. And I want to say thank you for all the work that you do with those guys there. We are going to have some very special treats tonight. In addition to these incredible 2 world premieres that you're going to hear, we also have a few other pieces. We're going to that have a concept of citizenship in everything or community building. We also have 2 amazing composers with us in the audience. We have a piece by Michael Gordon, who's YPC's composer in residence, and we're going to be having you join us at one point for that piece, so I hope you're ready to sing. And David Lang is in the audience as well, and I'm going to go back to Jeff. Would you tell us a little bit about his piece?
David, are you here yet? I haven't seen him walk in yet. Maybe he just hasn't arrived yet.
Okay.
David? He's in the lobby? Oh, okay. So do you want me to say a couple words about the piece? My wonderful colleague, who also teaches in the School of Music at Yale, wrote this piece 3 years ago. It's called The National Anthems. Very briefly, what David did was to look at the words of every national anthem in the world and see what it has in common. I think this is a kind of a theme that he often returns to in his work. This also the piece, The Public Domain, that was premiered just a few blocks from here at the Lincoln Center Plaza a couple years ago, was kind of a similar concept. And what he found to his dismay was that the thing that they had in common was aggression, war, violence. And he didn't quite know what to do with that, but then he realized that beneath that layer of bravado, there was also a layer of vulnerability, that this recognition that we could lose our freedom just as quickly as we gained it. And I think he summarized all 5 movements of this piece as there was a time when we were forced to live in chains. Please don't make us live in chains again. So there's kind of there's some violent imagery on one level, but there's also this idea of vulnerability. And we sang it at the festival 3 years ago, and I wasn't planning on doing it at this concert, but then Francisco remembered that we had done it 3 years ago, and with this, exploring citizenship and borders and community, I think we both agreed this is a perfect piece for this program, so we added it in.
And in your programs, you will see a link to go to the text, so you can follow the text of all the different national anthems and all the text that's in this program. We do have the text voice and the text for Arturo Farrell's piece in the program for you to read this evening. And we're going to end the program with the idea of when you look at the children, you immediately have an impression of what they can be. And when you hear them, it actually changes. And this happens to us around the world, wherever we go. The immediate impression is completely changed because the artistry is so high. They commit so much time to making music because I believe that if you can sing together, then you start talking, and you talk together, the dialogue can lead to so many wonderful things. So our last piece this evening will be a very fun piece, an arrangement of Bo Diddley's You Can't Judge a Book by Its Cover. I want to say thank you to our wonderful composers and conductors. And in just a few minutes, we'll begin our program. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Young People's Chorus of New York City.
Thank you once again. And now it's your opportunity to sing along with us. Last year we had asked Michael Gordon to write a piece for us that talked about the idea of freedom of speech. We had come across the idea, do we actually have the right to sing music of other people's cultures if we only represent one culture? And we asked Michael to answer the question for us. And indeed he did. He wrote a piece that we took to Finland with us, and it was so incredible that we had the audience sing along, and that we loved it so much that we're now going to ask you to sing along as well. And the words that you're going to say are very, very simple and very beautiful, and it says the following. Everybody has the right to sing this song. Can you say that? That's lovely, and it's going to sound like this. Try it. Just speak it. Everybody has the right to sing this song. Can you try that? Everybody has the right to sing this song. Now, I love the way you sing. It's very monotone. Let's try to bring it up a little more energy. Ready? Go. Everybody has the right to sing this song. And the melody goes like this. 2, 3.
Everybody has the right to sing this song.
Here we go.
Everybody has the right to sing this song.
One more time. Ready? Louder. And
everybody has the right to sing this song.
And every time we do this piece, it's a world premiere because it's always a new audience. So congratulations on the world premiere, again, of Michael Gordon's To Sing. Thank you.
Everybody has the right to sing this song. Everybody has the right to sing this song. Everybody has a right to sing this song. Everybody has a right to sing this song. Everybody has a right to sing. Everybody has a right.
So we have a little transition over here, and I'm asked to bring Arturo back on the stage and tell us a few more words about his piece while we get the quartet on stage. So Arturo, will you join me back on stage for a second? Please welcome back Arturo Farrell. So as they're getting ready for your piece of music, I was going to ask you, you're a Latin jazz composer, and you wrote a weird piece. A strange piece. I was expecting son or guaguancó or something crazy like that. Instead, you wrote this piece. Tell me a little bit more about what's happening here.
Okay, this is a very strange piece, as you said. I'm not a very good Latin jazz musician, and I'm not a very good jazz musician. Actually, not a very good classical musician, though my degrees are from the Aaron Copland School of Music in Manhattan and blah, blah, blah. But they're in classical performance. But I'm not a very good classical musician either. And I'm a decent pianist, but what I figured out is I'm a real person who's caught in the middle of many worlds. I'm Irish, German, Cuban, Mexican. My father was a jazz composer who worked in multi-movement suites and was... I have the vantage point of being borderless, which is incredible to me. So I wrote a piece that employs some Latin rhythms, but that most of all uses the structure of sound and vocal inflection. And I don't know, it's just a piece that I think really speaks to who I am. I don't feel encamped. I don't feel like I belong here or there or here or there. And I think it's so many things like that, my music, my ethnicity, who I am, what I believe.
So are there any Latin rhythms? Are there any Latin rhythms in this particular piece? Because when I was listening for it, you told me on the phone, I'm going to sing son huaracha, the Mexican rhythm, right? And the Cuban rhythm is son. So how does that incorporate into this piece?
Well, there's a beautiful style of Mexican choral singing that is a cappella. And it uses a lot of this kind of rhythmic, non-kind of it's syllables, but it's also heart-wrenching because it really comes from deep within. There's a thing, if you get a cactus needle in you, it's very difficult to get it out in a very painful process. And so frequently that involves a lot of gesticulation and crying and stuff like that. So this is kind of, I heard a lot of this physicality in this piece, and I heard a lot of this physicality and just sounds, just things that I think are rhythmic without assignable. Again, just because I'm not encamped in any particular place.
So we look forward to premiering it for you.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you so much, Arturo Farrell. This is the Haven String Quartet, Young People's Chorus in New York City, world premiere of Borderless.
Come to
So thank you so very much. We figured Leonard Bernstein is celebrating his 100th anniversary and 100th birthday this year, being celebrated around the world, and what better way to have a citizenship concert with West Side Story. This next piece, we're going to have a special performance artist that's going to join us on stage, and as we prepare, I'd like to invite Kevork Mourad to explain to us what we're going to be seeing in the screen. Please welcome the artist Kevork Mourad.
Thank you very much. So this piece, it's been only natural to be part of my work because I was born in Syria, raised in Aleppo, and when Paola asked me to be part of this project, I said, of course. It's the only way I can add in a positive way on refugees' voices. So I developed this tool, which is actually paint. I squeeze on a piece of paper, camera projects there. I also create pre-existing animation with this too, and sometimes videos. I have a MIDI controller here and computer I store things in. So basically, between doing it live and video, I tell story from my point of view to support this piece, Glassbox. Demonstration, yes. Simple, just.
Please welcome Jeff Douma, Young People's Chorus, Yale choral artist, and the second world premiere, Paola Prestini's and Royce Favric's The Glass Box.
The choral artists will sing one more short piece before we bring the Young People's Chorus back onto the stage for one more combined piece. This is composed by a former student of mine from the Yale School of Music, Dominic Diorio, who now conducts Notus, a choir devoted to the performance of new music at Indiana University. It's a very simple song, a very beautiful song, You Do Not Walk Alone. We thought that it tied in very well with all the different themes that the repertoire we're performing this evening explores. In essence, we're all stronger, we're all better when we stand together.